it to Gabriel Ferreira, number 7, who's making a run. There's nobody in front of him. Oh, man.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NBP, the No Beaters podcast. My name is Gabe, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Brian and Nate, as always, and we're back for another episode of the podcast. Start off, we just want to say Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. Things aren't quite as we maybe thought they would be when we look back and consider how things have gone with the pandemic, but we're back. I apologize for my flu, but we're going to get through it here. To start off, though, boys, I want to see how you guys fared over Christmas and New Year's. How are things with the family? Hopefully everything was fairly good.
Yeah, it was pretty chill for the most part. Didn't really do much.
There wasn't really much options. Pretty small gatherings for Christmas, all things considered. I worked New Year's Day, so I spent New Year's Eve over my girlfriend's. I honestly, at this point, I think we had a cheese board. I don't even remember what we watched. I watched 6 episodes of Sex Education. It was amazing, and then I stayed up to midnight, and then immediately fell asleep and got 5 hours before I had to wake up and work. It was awful. But one more weekend, and then I get a nice little 3-day weekend next week. So I am looking forward to that. But yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, glad everyone had a good break. So we'll quickly have a sort of short episode this week. We just wanted to touch on a couple of sort of news stories that are kind of going along within the Quidditch community. And then we'll go from there. So within Quidditch Canada specifically, I guess, not like Quidditch Canada, but in Canada, MLQ interest. So there was a post, I don't know if anyone sort of missed it, but it was in the CQA group, specifically for the Ottawa Black Bears. So with the MLQ sort of putting together the schedule and season for this upcoming summer, if you are interested, please express your interest. I know specifically for the Black Bears, and I'm sure the Raiders are going to be looking for interest as well. So if you are interested, please don't hesitate to reach out to, for the Black Bears, it's Haley Yap and
Brianna Thor. Darren Belfer.
Darren Belfer for Black Bears, and then Brian, go ahead for the Raiders.
Brianna Thor is the manager, so contact her.
Okay. But reach out if you are interested. Again, not really sure where the MLQ is going to be going. Again, Omicron is really throwing things for a loop here, but hopefully, based on some of the modeling, we'll hopefully get some reopening. We'll see. But for now, though, just at least express interest because I know a lot of sort of decisions are riding on the numbers that we get in terms of interest. So even if you're not 100% sure, at least just say kind of, or let those people in sort of charge of the teams know, so that we have a rough idea of numbers, because I know that every number is going to count for the Canadian team. So that's
also if you're for the Black Bears, it's not just Ottawa, it's also Montreal and the Kingston area. So if you're in one of those 2 areas, you can also express interest, not just if you're from Ottawa.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, 2021 set the bar pretty low. We're off to a rocky start. 2022. We need some upward momentum here,
like the stock market.
Yeah, to the moon.
Yeah. So again, if you are interested, please reach out to those individuals so we can have Quidditch back in Canada with MLQ. Speaking of MLQ, we have the MLQ championship weekend bids announced. So we have 3 finalists. So we're going to quickly touch on that. I'm just going to pull up the names here. So the 3 finalists we had were Round Rock, Texas. Where are the other 2? Howard County, Maryland, right?
Yep.
That was where we had this past MLQ championship weekend. And then where's the other one? In South Carolina. Hang on here, sorry.
It's Goldsboro.
Do you have it, Nate?
Yeah, Goldsboro in North Carolina.
Goldsboro, North Carolina. So those are our 3 finalists for potential MLQ championship bid. So boys, any of those 3 stand out that you'd be excited to play in?
I mean, anywhere but Texas is less travel. So I'm sure Texas is nice and pretty hot in the summer and stuff. But regardless, in the summer it's going to be nice. Hopefully,
well, because you guys, Well, yeah, 'cause wasn't Pan Am's in Texas a couple years ago?
No, it was in Richmond.
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia.
Where
And,
was what? I swear there was an event that happened in Texas at one point where there was like it was so hot that things were, or was that, or maybe I'm mistaken.
that probably was the same tournament. Like the ground was so hot,
okay.
my cleats were burning my feet. I had to pour water on them just to keep them cold.
Wow.
That was insane.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. So like where
Mhm.
Richmond, Virginia is though, if you're looking at a map, it's kind of on the lower half of Virginia, and then below it's North Carolina, South Carolina, and then Georgia, and then Florida. So like it's a little bit farther south than what, like the Richmond, Virginia site was, and the Maryland is more northeast toward Washington.
Yep.
Not too far distance in between, but I think there's enough airports to kind of get you where you need. The Round Rock is kind of out of the way. As people who, well, we're northern teams, but like as a person on the northern division side, I would have liked to see something. But I know, like, I believe, like the year before Toronto joined, and when Ottawa was making the championships, it was in Milwaukee, I believe, or something like that. It was
Wisconsin
somewhere in
championship.
somewhere in
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see something, maybe like Cleveland or I don't know, Illinois somewhere. But
Yeah.
that's where they could pick. So we're kind of between those three. So hopefully all three look great. But yeah, I'm just hoping for less. You know what? I can't even say I'm hoping for less like airfare. I'm just hoping to be there. Like that's kind of the bar is so low at this point. Just hey, can I show up, please? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks good. I think me and someone else called North Carolina. Like I said Charlotte originally in our predictions, and I was like, I want a Charlotte location. a little bit off, but I think they recognized like, hey,
I mean, much deserved after a pretty successful season.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. But, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just looking through the website here. So Round Rock, in terms of the venue, hosted numerous MLQ and USQ events. It's the Round Rock multi-purpose complex specifically. Facility features fully lit turf and grass fields and ample electricity and internet. MLQ has collaborated with Round Rock a number of times in the past to host regular season series. So, I mean, looking at the facility from the one picture they have here, it looks pretty nice. So we'll say that. And the fact that they have a mix of turf and grass.
Also shaded bleachers as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of like the covers as well. If you haven't seen, check out the MLQ website. They have a picture of it there with like the sort of shade coverage or whatever. So just from that one picture, it looks great. So definitely be kind of cool to go there. And then in terms of Howard County, as you kind of already alluded to, it was the location for last year's championships. I didn't know this, but apparently it won a tourism and travel award in conjunction with the event, which is pretty cool. So for those that kind of maybe have missed the event this past year, Troy Park has four lighted synthetic multi-purpose fields and a press box and bleacher setting. So we had kind of commented that when we did our MLQ recap episode where we had said that the sort of commentary had definitely like taken a step up from previous years. So perhaps that definitely had an impact on the improved quality we saw there. And then quickly to wrap up here with Goldsboro, North Carolina. I previously hosted the USQ Mid-Atlantic Regional Championships. And specifically, this is pretty funny, the Bryan Multi-Sports Complex. I didn't know you had a facility in North Carolina, Bryan, but
free tickets.
It's recognized as one of the top sporting facilities in the county, in the country, with multiple high-quality fields. And it says here that MLQ will be spending month of January to visit the cities and conduct site visits. And we will have an announcement in early February in terms of who the finalist for our championship weekend will be. And they also made a note here. Rochester, New York, and Round Rock have been selected to host MLQ regular season series, which is exciting as well.
I assume that would mean Super Series to that extent.
Yeah, sorry, a regular season Super Series. Yeah,
I'm reading the like article too, and it does specify regular season series, but I would assume that means Super Series. It'd be kind of weird just to announce the like, hey, just one team showing up here and one team showing up there, like. So. Yeah,
I think so. Maybe who knows? Maybe there's something they have up their sleeve, but it would make sense that it would be some form of Super Series. But yeah, exciting stuff there. So we'll see. I said beginning of February they'll announce that winner. So we'll keep our ears and eyes peeled for that. And then sticking on the topic MLQ as well. This was pretty funny actually. So for those that don't follow football, specifically NFL, the Washington football team, obviously they're renaming their team for clearly racist reasons, but they're still in the process of renaming their football team. And there was a post made, I believe it was on Twitter. I'm going to pull up here the American Quidditch discussion page. But apparently it was posted on Twitter. They made an announcement that they were they released a date rather where they were going to be unveiling the name change. But I guess some people had tried clicking on the link that had been posted, and some people were saying that it was linking to like a Washington Admirals name. So Washington Admirals being within the MLQ. I'm just gonna see. Where's it here? So yeah, so I'm gonna show his name here. Matt Roy made a post of January 4th. Might the NFL's Washington football team be trying to steal the Admirals' name? So I tried to click on the Twitter link now. It's not going to work. But apparently people were saying that when they clicked on this link that it was taking them to the Washington football team's Washington Admirals. I don't know. It seems really, really funny. But I just want to get your guys' thoughts on I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this or if you had a chance to actually click on the link and have it work. But
I tried to click on the link when you first mentioned it, and it basically took me to like a broken page. Like they wouldn't show me the tweet, but it's pretty funny that like an official, like one of the big four North American sports, is taking the name of a semi-pro MLQ team.
Well, so I'm on my phone right now, and through Twitter, if I go through that tweet at June Lee, the link for WashingtonAdmirals.com redirects currently to the NFL.com site. So currently there is something still going on. It is very interesting because I remember like when Washington, like the team changed the name to the Washington football team, it was very much like a joke. It was very like, that's your team name, cool. But they had like a good year. They rallied around it, and people want them to kind of keep it, I thought, for a while, or what I saw online. But with it being Washington, I saw like the Commanders, the Admirals, very like military themes. So maybe they don't care, maybe they do, I don't know. But it's very interesting that you just kind of try to just take over this thing when you don't really like look at the background. Like I mentioned to Gabe and Nate before, there's another major like big four sport that had a name change, and that was the Cleveland in baseball. So they changed to the Cleveland Guardians. That was a roller derby team in Cleveland, and the Guardians are in reference to this certain bridge. There's a bunch of other like context to it, but it was a recognized like semi-pro small team, right? And they had all the copyrights. So from what I'm aware, because I'm pretty sure it got kept like on the down low, it had to get settled in court privately and like quietly because they didn't want anything else going down. So I don't know, maybe MLQ will have some nicer cameras in the next little bit, or maybe some couple years of championship weekends are going to be paid for.
Maybe actual salaries, you never know.
Maybe, absolutely.
Yeah, hey, that would be pretty sweet.
Even if it's $100.
Yeah, so I one of the comments actually is pretty sweet, but one of the comments in that thread in the American Quidditch discussion group had said, this is from the ESPN article. During a podcast in September, ESPN's Adam Schefter had said that the final candidates were the Presidents, Brigade, Redhawks, Commanders, Red Wolves, Defenders, or the Armada football team. So maybe some of those were adjacent to the Admirals. Maybe they wanted to scoop it up for the URL, perhaps. So I was on sort of the naming thing. And then to kind of go off your point there, Brian, I quickly looked up CBS has an article. This was in back in November 2021. So MLB's Cleveland Guardians settled a lawsuit with a roller derby team of the same name. This is pretty cool. So here have settled a lawsuit that was filed by a local roller derby team over the naming rights to the Cleveland Guardians. The two sides announced an amicable resolution on Tuesday and stated that both organizations will use the Guardians nickname. So I don't think it discloses. No, there's no disclosure in terms of like what the actual settlement was, but that's pretty awesome that they actually were able to secure the bag, if you will.
Frankly, it's all conjecture on our part of like what we know or don't know, but like very well they could have had like a lawsuit and like $1 million for that, like for that team, that organization doesn't mean a lot for that organization. For MLQ or a roller derby team, that is a jackpot, a literal jackpot to them. So it's hard to put in context of what happened. Maybe they're just like, hey, we could have froze you in court and wasted away in legal fees, but that's bad rep. So it's hard to like contextualize everything, but I think it's a good case in point to kind of compare against. So I think we have about a month before, because I think Feb 2nd is when they plan to announce it. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. But two big announcements to come in February: MLQ Championship and a potential lawsuit to come. We'll see. But so to quickly finish up with that, then. So Ryan, you said that maybe, I don't know, do you guys want to quickly touch on like, I know we're touching a little bit before the podcast, but like what kind of goes into renaming a team? Like, why would organization decide to rename a team? I know we've kind of touched like on logos and sort of jerseys in the past in terms of like what goes into like a good jersey and whatever. But when it comes to like, renaming a team generally, what would you say sort of like the criteria for it, like actually doing it? Kind of go from there.
I'm not the most creative person when it comes to this, but like in my mind, like when me and Christos had like came up with the idea to start the Manatees team, the year after the Ottawa's team played for the Otters, we said like, hey, the commute's really rough for us. We're gonna try starting another team and like be together, and then like certain things fell apart and so and so, but we kept our team together. And I believe it was myself, Christos, Matt Barassa, and Claire Steckley. And we just had a car ride home. We were just spitballing dumb ideas. I had an idea of like the Mississauga McCallions named after like Mississauga's old mayor. And they were like, oh, do we try getting the mayor in contact and see if she comes out to event? And like a lot of it seemed like ridiculous things. And I think it just kind of came down to like, hey, we got to find something that people like fits the vibe of our team, right? Like, I think you can look at like the Valhalla Quidditch in Toronto, and like they have their like moniker, and they've been around for a long time. They fit like Norse mythology. They're very like strong and consistent and like serious with how they play and like how they take like their team, and it fits, right? So like the Ottawa Otters, a little bit sillier of a name, but it was much more of a chiller vibe. We adopted that as our like tagline basically. So like there's parts that you gotta like fit your identity and like fit your name to identity, and your name has to fit like what you want to do and how you want to take your direction. So I don't know, it's really interesting. Like what are your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I think part of it, aside from like sort of your identity and sort of a story, I guess, the team is more of like a historical component to it. So like for Queens, for example, the Gales, like the Golden Gales, there's a huge history behind that. And like again, there's various other historical context certain teams. I guess that kind of goes along the same lines as in terms of like why a team might change a name. So like yes, there's historical context to certain names. Like and now we're starting to see a lot of the name changes. So again, Washington, Cleveland, and obviously some of those names are not obviously they are incredibly insensitive and racist, and hence why they're being changed. But if you look at, for example, I don't know the full history behind it. Maybe one of you guys do, but maybe Nate, you know, because it's your team. But it's like Chicago Blackhawks, for example. yeah, so like a lot of people were saying, well, like why are they changing X, Y, and Z team names when Chicago has the Blackhawks? But I know there's a historical context behind it. That
I think it's
maybe
related to
touch
like
on
the
that.
war or something. Well, let me see if I can quickly find.
I was gonna ask real quick: was it always the
Yeah.
Golden Gales, or was it?
It was. Again, there's another historical. Again, I'm not a history guy, but I know that it was originally the Golden Gales here. So while Nate's looking that up, I'll look up the Golden
Yeah, I
Gales. But
found
it
it.
was originally the Golden Gales, and I think there was another like sort of reason for the name change. It had to do with some sort of historical context. I'm gonna look it up real quick here as well.
So like,
but originally, yes, it was the Golden Gales.
Yeah, so the Blackhawks, it was. So yeah, the Major Frederick McLaughlin, who was the founder of the franchise, he named his team the Blackhawks after the U.S. Army unit he served in during World War One. So it was the 86th Infantry Division, also known as the Black Hawk Division. So essentially, he named it after his U.S. Army unit when he was serving in the war. And I guess the next founders, the next owners of the team kind of continued that name. Of course, the logo improved, it like changed over time, but the name has remained the same. But originally it was two separate words, so like Black Hawk or Black Hawks, and then over time they switched to just the one name. But because the main logo is an indigenous or a native person, like head, people find that offensive, which is credible in that sense. Personally, I think they will probably change the logo and maybe the name as well sometime down the line, especially with everything going on with the franchise. It kind of needs like a new fresh start, and probably the time is now, like is the best time to do that. So maybe going into next season or in a couple of years, they'll probably end up changing both the name and logo, like other pro sports teams have done, like the Cleveland team and the Washington team.
So real quick, I just saw this on Twitter right now. So there's a podcast out there that's associated with Barstool Sports called The Dime Package. I have no clue what this is about. So if there's something else, like no relationship here, but apparently they tweeted out, "We refuse to allow the Washington football team to change their name to the Admirals and stand in solidarity with Major League Quidditch." So I don't know exactly. I haven't listened to what they're saying in here. But the Washington Admirals, like MLQ Twitter like account, retweeted and said the Washington Quidditch team supports this message. So this news like is legitimately spreading to like, hey, there's people recognizing that there's an account here or like a trademark or a team that has this LP.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's recognized, like it's not like a nobody thing, right? Like there's proper legal channels that were followed to get this like intellectual property. So yeah.
When you search Washington Admirals on Google, like straight up after like some of the top articles from like the past couple days, from the New York Post and the Washington Football Wire website, like the third link is MLQ Quidditch. So essentially, like once you type in Washington Admirals, you're getting that as like your top link. So
yeah.
Wow, crazy stuff. But anyway, so very, very quick research here. But this is an article from the Globe and Mail in 2008. Are the Gales still golden? For some reason, I thought it was historical. Maybe it's not. But anyway, so quickly summarize. So the summer, the athletic department opted to rebrand all of its teams by dropping the word "golden" from their name, a move that was outraged many alumni and sparked a heated debate on campus. The school was referred to simply as the Queen's Gales all season. However, others continue to advise and continues to advise others to do the same. TSN football analyst Jacques Climie, who I'm pretty sure was actually a Queen's alumni, said the university should reconsider the switch. Doesn't make sense to have wanted to change the name to begin with. Climie said, "I can certainly understand why people are upset. You've got a tradition that's lasted for more than 60 years. Will people be upset if they became the Toronto Leafs instead of the Toronto Maple Leafs?" Climie said the change came as a result of a marketing firm's ill-advised appraisal of how Queen's Athletics could better its brand. So there you go. And I believe I saw another. It's coming from Wikipedia, so I'm a little skeptical in terms of the source. But where is it here? It said the Golden Gales name was originally coined in 1947 by the Kingston Whig Standard sports reporter Cliff Bowering after the football team traded its traditional uniform of red, gold, and blue bands for a gold jersey, gold helmet, and red pants. It caught on, became familiar with Queen teams by the 50s. Gales is a reference to Queen's Scottish heritage.
Interesting.
And then, 2008, it was renamed to Queen's Gales. Website changed from Golden Gales to Go Gales Go, GoGalesGo.com. The change was reportedly made to highlight the university's name in promoting the team. However, some criticized the move as change for the sake of change. Under media scrutiny, the department claimed it had not, in fact, officially changed the name of the team. Major media sources like the Kingston Way continued to refer to them as the Golden Gales. So just informed there. But yeah, I guess so. It wasn't really necessarily a historical thing, but it was more so just changing the name for namesake, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so I guess there's naming a team generally for, like you said, Brian, like identity, and then like sort of like the story that you kind of want to portray. So again, I think when you brought up the Ottawa Otters, it was a perfect example. The way I look at it is like the Otters are super playful, get super chill, like that was exactly what our team embodied. Whereas you just look at other, again, going back to what we said about Valhalla, it's very, they're very entrenched in like the whole strong and like, the way I always looked at it was like, it's like the, once you graduated, like you kind of like you're reborn almost, you know what I mean? Like, so going back to like the, like dying and then being reborn, I guess, sort of mentality. But yeah, so it's super interesting to see what goes into a name, but that's generally how I see it anyways. But
it's really interesting because like I'm not sure as for you guys as like people who went to Queen's, but like Queen's as a university is Queen's University. It's not the University of Kingston, which is like different because comparatively, like University of Toronto, University of Waterloo, University of Guelph, Wilfrid Laurier is a different example, but they also have a second university in Waterloo already, right? Ottawa, University of Ottawa, but also at the same time Carleton, which is a different run, right? So it's weird to me because I always thought of Queens and I just called you guys like Queens. I never like thought to call you like the Gales, right? But for you, Ottawa, until they got slapped with their cease and desist or whatever it was, that no longer being able to use the GGs, they were the GGs in my mind. But then we found out and we're like, oh, so now they're you, Ottawa. So it's really interesting that like maybe in different places, like for you guys, what you want to call your team or what you recognize your team as, some maybe different from like what other people in other areas are recognizing it as, just from like random naming convention. But yeah, it's weird how this kind of changes and goes back and forth. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, a football team is willing to pay some nice settlement money for admirals.
Another example too of that is like in the NBA with like the Golden State Warriors, like they're not named after like an actual city. It's more so just the nickname of the city, at least that they used to be in, because I think they moved to San Francisco. But
yeah,
Golden State. They're not. There's no city called Golden State.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, right? Like I've been playing the new NHL game, and like I challenged myself. I'm gonna take over the it's Arizona? Yeah, Arizona Coyotes, but it's not Phoenix. And I was like, I'm gonna move out of Arizona because they have no money, and I moved to Houston, which is where NHL is looked at as a possibility to move. And I was just lazy and didn't change anything about the team. I just said, you're Houston Coyotes now. I didn't bother to rename anything. So I don't know. Maybe there's people who are more creative and have more like thoughts than me when it comes to naming stuff. When you just kind of pilfer one name and just move it over. But I don't know. We'll see. It's a very interesting conversation going on.
All right, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but on the topic of the Golden Gales and Queens within the OUA, so we'll wrap up with this point here. So the OUA and like sort of U Sports within Canada, so for those who aren't familiar, U Sports is kind of the equivalent of the NCAA in the US, but There's sort of a going, and the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because it'd be nice at some point if quidditch get to this level and being an OUA sport, but unfortunately the OUA was being deemed non-elite. So there's a hashtag OUA is elite that's been going around. So given the current lockdowns that are going on in Quebec and Ontario, the university athletics, as well as the OCAA, which is the college equivalent, have been deemed non-elite and therefore aren't allowed to play. So the current restrictions in Ontario, for those that aren't aware, states that only, I think it's Olympic, Paralympic, and then professional athletes are the only ones that are allowed to like train in like gym and recreational facilities. So obviously there's a huge uproar within the OUA community, OCAA community, rightfully so, being able to play. So I'm just pulling up an article here. This one was done by CBC. Ontario University and college athletes aren't elite is a question the province won't answer. So 7 leagues can continue to compete, but 47 post-secondary school programs cannot. So find a quick snippet here. So much of the holiday season was spent recovering from Omicron, and laughing at TikTok accounts trying to make sense of the new suggestions for 2022. Even though said laughing sent me into a coughing fit. As we approach the third year of the pandemic, there's such despair and frustration and deep concerns for our health workers, educators who are charged with caring for the most vulnerable populations. It can feel overwhelming. Ontario's Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, Culture Industries informed the province's university and collegiate athletic programs, so that's 20 members in the OUA and then 27 in the OCAA, that they are not considered to have elite amateur status, and must immediately stop training programs and gaming schedules until further notice. So right now, so there's the basketball going on right now, volleyball going on right now. Those were like deemed like the full season sports, I guess. So like their seasons have been cut in half essentially. They're putting on hold. They're not allowed to train. It's all like kind of back to Zoom training. And keep in mind too that these athletes were also like told that if they got vaccinated and they kind of like followed the whole like COVID regulations, that they'd be able to play. So obviously they're super frustrated. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on the shutdown, I guess, in terms of like OUA athletes not being deemed, OCAA athletes not being deemed elite. Like what is elite? Like I don't understand.
Quick question. OHL is still going on, right? Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Because like I'm pretty sure the World Juniors that got canceled or rescheduled or whatever their status is at this point, they play a game against U Sports, which is OUA, which is basically they just grabbed a bunch of like the All Stars and have them play a tune-up for the World Juniors team.
Yeah.
But one team is allowed to prep, and obviously this happened beforehand.
Mm.
But the OHL is still continuing, and they played against someone in the same tier at least. Like I think the OHL World Juniors team was much better, but still, like I don't know. The definition of elite is so cloudy.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like probably money, finances, because like with OHL or CHL in general, that whole junior hockey league, they basically have TV deals instead that they have to kind of live up to. So in order for money to be made, because I guess the government doesn't want to interfere with that and cause any issues with that. But I know like with university sports, like they don't really get that TV recognition all that much. It's more so within like maybe Sports Canada or like the university's own like broadcasting station. So
well, it's funny too though, because like this, like you said, Gabe, this is the Canadian NCAA equivalent, right? At least like for Ontario. There's other provinces, BC, Quebec, Alberta, I'd say are the largest ones when it comes to population and size. But like at the same time, like there's I think it's NIL or NIT deals currently going on for like college athletes down in the States, because now they're allowed to use their own image and get endorsements, and they're signing 6-figure, 5-figure deals to get money. Like I know a friend of mine from uni, like their roommate competed, or a couple of their roommates competed for Guelph for like different varsity sports, and it's like the limitations on what they can and can't do is so strange. Yet at the same time, multiple like people from that same house were like on track or were in contention to compete at the Olympics. So like, what is elite? It doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. It's almost like sport to sport doesn't even track, right? Um, and like I think there is something to be said. Like you said, yeah, there's TV deals. There's probably private facilities for like OHL players. I'm not going to get into like NHL or like professional leagues in the Big Four and stuff like that because that's a whole nother monster of really money. But like, yeah, comparably, OHL, sure, they have private facilities, but I don't think anyone at like universities right now in Ontario can go to the gym. Let it be reserved for those varsity athletes. Like, it seems like a kind of simple solution. I'm probably dumbing it down a little too much, but there seems like there's pathways. I don't know why they're not being taken though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't want to make this is not by any means a political podcast or a legal podcast, so we're not giving advice in terms of legal advice. But I think kind of going back to what you said about the World Juniors and stuff, I know that for a lot of people, like the World Juniors were definitely not going to be making anywhere near as much, given that it's a gate-driven sort of revenue, from my understanding, with the tournament structure. But a lot of it, I think, got to do with the fact that they were like deemed minors, I think. So it was like the IIHF's like legal duty to like ensure the safety of the players, given that they weren't like adults, I guess, or something along those lines. So I don't know how that works within a university setting. I don't think it's not comparable because of the age differences, but I would lean more towards the idea that like these universities have a lot riding on them. I know, especially going back to Queens for example, but like when students are coming back to like there's always been like sort of a rivalry between students and Kingston residents in Kingston, and I think that sort of maybe that's playing into it. The fact that like the university has so much pressure put on them from the local residents in Kingston, and wherever else there's university, like all the other university towns, that maybe that's having an impact. But again, I think if these athletes are like quarantining and they're all kind of staying within a bubble, like modified bubbles, like I don't know, it's good, like it's above my parade, but I don't know, it's just so frustrating. And I don't know.
I think it's funny you mentioned the bubble idea because that's kind of almost why the IIHF like World Juniors got canceled this year, because a bunch of players caught COVID, and yet they talked about we could do it in a bubble like the NHL did in the playoffs, and totally possible. Like they have the money and the revenue to have one hotel or like half a hotel or something. But there was like a couple teams at a hotel and there was a wedding getting held. Like what?
That's crazy.
It's insane. Like, yeah, you can only have protocols that go so far if you don't address the fact that there's other people partying in the same hotel that you're staying at. Like, just ridiculous.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Again, I know that Quidditch isn't necessarily deemed a OUA sport yet, but maybe one day. But yeah, it's just quickly to wrap up here. Like the OUA also made an article or posted an article. OU continues to make push for elite status, safe return to train. I mean, we'll see what happens, but if you are interested, they do have the article posted on their website as well. And there's all the university institutions and OCAA programs have made posts about it, and you'll see various athletes that are trying to make the claim. And honestly, I don't think they really need to argue the fact that they're elite. I think it's more just trying to say, like, the government, like, why are we not deemed elite? Because clearly based on all the number of players that have been either elite Olympic athletes, or some of them even gone pro, some like signing ECHL contracts, some have gone to the NHL, like just across the board in terms of sports, it's ridiculous. So wish all those athletes all the best of luck and trying to get back to the sports that they are hoping to get back to and play. So we'll wrap up then, I guess, with our Who Were the Two segment. So this week I have a pretty cool shout out. So this is in the American Quidditch discussion group. Again, we're going back to that. Let me see if I can find it here. And it was a this is going back to when we were talking about the renaming of the Quidditch. The Quidditch. Quidditch's name. Let's see if I can find it again here. But it was a post that one of the fans had made. So shout out to Sarah Foster. So she had said in our post here, for those who haven't seen it. So I'm not a player, never have been. Sort of feel like an imposter in this group. Sorry, all, but because I missed my chance back in college, I wrote this sort of love letter to sport, and FYI post, and just wanted to share it with y'all. If I could, or if I got anything wrong, please let me know. But I love being here and seeing the group or the sport grow. So she kind of goes on a relatively long post about how she's like admires the sport and thinks that the sport should change the name to continue growing the sport. She even, I think she shouts out Rachel Heald. So I guess she's a big fan of her. So I just wanted to shout her out and say that sometimes, given how small of a community we are within the Quidditch community, sometimes it's kind of nice to recognize the fans and get their feedback as well. So it's kind of nice to see that she felt comfortable enough to reach out and give her opinion about the renaming of the sport. So shout out to Sarah. You get my toque this week for that. That's awesome.
For my shout out, it goes to the Washington Admirals for the potential or possibility of making us a pretty rich organization. If they can win some sort of a lawsuit with the Washington football team, depending if they do name their team the Admirals.
Just
we'll about that.
MLQ early settlement. Okay, here's what we have to offer. It is that done. That's how much we're gonna take. Take it immediately. I'm kind of undecided this week. I think shout out to all the like athletes and people who just in general, like, it is January and wanting to get in shape. Do what you can at home. It's a rough time of year. Like, I want to go back to the gym bad, but it's time to get a little creative. Either like free weights or my small little bench press downstairs that I'm way too big for. But yeah, do what you can. I know it's a cold time of year and not too fun outside, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess we'll wrap it up there. We just wanted to again say Happy New Year to everyone. All our listeners, stay healthy, stay positive. We'll get through it. And we'll quickly plug our socials as well. So Nate has us on our Instagram. Again, it's no longer the CQC, it's the No Beaters podcast. Is our handle there. So we're going to be posting more in the new year on our channel there. Let's keep growing our brand awareness platform. And we'll see everyone back next week for our next episode. Again, stay safe, stay positive, and we'll catch you in the next one.